You're listening to Rated R with Rasheeda. Rated R stands for real, relevant, and relatable chatter all about relationships. And dating, of course. And the R also stands for ridiculous, because we're gonna have some fun. Thanks for tuning in. This is a judgment-free zone. You'll get to listen in on the conversations I have with myself in my head and those that I have with actual people. You know, friends, family, and sometimes experts in the field of dating and relationships. Maybe talking to them, we could all learn a little something about this crazy thing we call love. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with one of my favorite couples in the world, Daphne and Gee. I've been friends with them for a couple of years now, and let me tell you, love at first sight isn't as common as you think.
My first word was like geek.
I did not imagine that it will actually work out.
But before we listen into my conversation with them, it's time for my Rated R rant. Since living on the Upper East Side for the past few years, I've noticed a few things. One of which, it's crawling with couples. Married couples, young couples, elderly couples, couples strolling hand in hand in Central Park, couples picking up their kids at 2 p.m. from school. You get the picture. They just look so happy, so perfectly in love. You ever wonder, though, how those couples actually met? Are their lives really as idyllic as they appear to be? And were they swept into some intense romance? Well, I happen to know one Upper East Side couple, and that's Daphne and Gee. Daphne's from Singapore and Gee's from Malaysia. And let's just say what I discovered about their love story definitely surprised me.
What I admire about you both, and I've told you this before, is that you guys definitely seem to do a lot of things together. I know that sounds very basic, but like, you go dancing and like activities. Because you know how you hear a lot of times like opposites attract? I don't know if I would want that to be the case for me. Like, I want whoever I end up with ultimately, like, I want us to have things in common or at least really enjoy each other's company.
Right.
Like, is that an important thing for you, and has that always been that way?
Well, we are opposites.
Are you?
Yeah, I mean, personality-wise,
Okay.
we are...
I stand corrected.
Elaborate. Personality-wise, we are very different. But you're right, interest-wise, we have a lot of common interests, and I think that's a really good question, because the reason why we kind of connected in the first place was because we had a shared interest of music.
Oh. Do you guys have a song? I guess not.
Probably not, unless it's that song that you surprise sang at a wedding.
Yeah.
But no, we don't have like a song. All the Asian people listening to this would probably relate. But we both grew up learning how to play the piano.
Uh-huh.
And then we both were in the marching / military / symphonic band.
Oh.
So,
For your schools?
Yeah,
Schools,
for
yeah.
schools.
Okay, but you didn't go to the same school.
No, we grew up in different countries.
When did you actually meet? Like, how did you meet?
We had a mutual friend.
Oh.
So he was my co-worker in my first job.
Which was?
In Singapore. It's engineer for an injection mold making company.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you. You're an engineer. That's awesome.
In English, please.
I'll have to spend half an hour to explain what.
Well, I don't know what that is, but it's keep going.
So anyway,
Mutual friend.
yeah, he was my friend, my colleague, and then because he's from Malaysia as well, his hometown is near to my hometown, and we clicked. and we became really good friends. And then he kept saying that, oh, there's this girl that I know. She's really cool. You gotta meet her.
What? I don't think I knew this.
Yeah, and then it turns out that he knew her like years before, like when they were teenagers.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I should probably
Yeah.
add to that part of the story. So when I was, I think, 18, I was working as a youth worker, as a performing sort of artist / youth worker with a faith-based organization, and we went to Malaysia for a mission trip, and that's how I knew that friend, and we just kept in touch like throughout. And then that friend actually moved to Singapore for school, just like G did. So that's how it all came
Look
together.
at that.
I still do not know why he thought that we should meet.
Interesting.
Because when I knew him, when he was saying this, when we met eventually, I was still not a Christian, and for Christians, it's important that you find a partner who is Christian as well, because of the what you believe, and it's so basic to who
That's
you
important
are
for me. Yeah.
that it doesn't work if your partner is not a Christian. So yeah.
So he knew that Daphne was a Christian, and he knew that you weren't.
I was.
And he was a Christian. I mean, our friend was a
Yeah,
Christian.
he was a Christian.
Ah.
Because I'm like, hey dude, this is not funny.
But the
But
Lord works in mysterious ways, doesn't he?
yeah, I mean, my first word was like geek.
What? And he knows this. Or
Yeah.
is this his first time hearing?
No, he knows it.
I'm proud to be a geek.
Yeah.
All right, that's
He's an
right.
engineer,
Make
it's a badge of honor.
That geek flag fly.
Yeah.
Since she's so brutally honest,
Um,
what did you think of Daphne?
It was cute and
Okay.
interesting, and she had a strange haircut at the time. So
What was this strange haircut?
yeah, it was sort of like like a slanted fringe.
Oh.
Yeah.
And was your hair long or was it like
Short.
Short.
Short. Yeah.
like this length
Yeah,
right
it
now?
was short, but then now it had a really obvious slant.
Wow, that's very fashion forward or backward. I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, depending on whether the slant was forward or
Oh,
back.
backwards. That's what it was. It was that kind of. Okay. And so you guys, first impression. So you were like, oh, she's cute. And you were like, he's a geek. So what happened next? Like, how did you eventually go on a date?
So she was producing a show in a club for a magazine.
Mm-hmm.
There was Singapore's 50 most eligible or most
Bachelor show I was producing.
Attractive.
The 50 was fabulous.
And you were
Anyway.
producing that show?
Sort of, yeah.
Were you thinking like, oh, maybe I'll meet someone?
No.
That wasn't even on your radar.
Nah.
Huh. That's where you and I would be very different. I'd be like, hey, I'm going to produce this show and I'm going to find a husband. Okay. So it was that night.
So yeah, I mean, we went to the club and we saw her and yeah, and I'm like, I should try to get her number. So I wanted to date like right away, and I was pursuing her like right away, but
So when you say pursuing, though, let me rewind
Right.
from a guy. Like, what does pursuing consist of? Like, what does that mean?
like we'll go out and I call her and we'll talk at night, and yeah, like
Being around her, spending time with her,
yeah, and
planning stuff.
yeah, and also just act like a couple, yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, but I was not a Christian, so it was not working for her. So it's we had a lot of ups and down, and No, I was, I mean, on hindsight, I was at that time more looking for my self gratification than, for really a real relationship,
Interesting.
Yeah.
When you say self gratification, like just wanting to just be around her, or like.
I mean, wanting to have someone love me rather than wanting to love another person.
Oh. If I was holding up a mic, I would have dropped it just now.
Mic drop.
That would have been a mic drop. So you weren't ready to like love back, but you just wanted to receive.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I loved her. It feels like, it's a relationship. I love her and she loves me, and I'm like, oh, but it was more of a selfish kind of love rather than a real selfless kind of love.
Because that's how love should be.
Yeah.
Real love should be selfless.
Yeah.
Huh. So you, Daphne, did you ever feel like, oh, he's the one, or he could be the one if he like shared the same faith as me?
If you were of the same faith, then yes, he could be the one. And then no to the question of he's the one, right away. Yeah. Because for me, like, the faith box wasn't ticked off, and that was my first box.
There was still something about him, though, that allowed you to keep seeing him, or that you allowed yourself to still see him.
Yeah, I think it was more like, oh, this is a nice person to know. For me it was like, it's nice to have another friend with a very strong shared interest of music. I guess as much as I could just develop the relationship. By relationship I just meant like, friendship / whatever, like getting to know you stage. That was kind of okay for me. But I mean, the back of my mind, I was like, it's probably never gonna go to a romantic relationship or whatever.
Because that faith box, like you said, wasn't ticked off.
Yeah, and for me, I think that really describes a lot of the male relationship I had growing up. I had a lot of very, very close friends, guy friends, and then it was all very good friendships, but not, anything that I thought could be romantically, because, yeah, for me the first box was kind of, do we have the same faith? No. Okay, we're friends.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was the turning point where you got serious and you were like, oh, we do want to pursue a relationship?
I think then that is sort of really a few years down the line, because for me then our first hurdle to sort of a real dating relationship was him coming to first understand and to accept that my faith was very important and I wasn't going to compromise on that. So the first part of our friendship, I guess you can call it, was just getting him to understand that this was very important to me and for him to be open to listening about my faith. Yeah. Then I guess he did eventually come to faith after a few years. Then that was the first point when I go like, okay, the first box is ticked off, perhaps we can move on to other things.
And when you say it came to faith, did that have anything to do with you, though? Was it because you were, like, inviting him to church a lot, or, like...
I was a pretty strong sort of humanist, human can. Basically atheist, right? I don't believe that humans need God, and I did not believe that humans need God, and, we can solve problems, all our problems with government and technology, and
science.
And
right, being an engineer, right?
and that Christianity is just for weak people, like it's a crutch for the the population. When she said that Christianity is important to her, I was like, like at that time, I guess, somehow God was calling me, or He was just working in my heart, that I just decided, all right, I will go and check it out.
Church, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
To church, and I just went, and the first service that I went with her, and I decided to. I remember telling myself that okay, I will lower down my guard, because previously, whenever people start even mention anything about Christianity, I would just sort of there'll be a wall that comes up in my ear, in my heart, that I will just not want to listen at all. So I decided that I will just lower my guard and to actually try to listen and to see what the pastor had to say. And I remember after the service, I was like, this actually, there's actually something that makes sense. I was intrigued. I was like, I felt my heart being moved by the message. I was like, whoa, what is this? So, after that, I just went to church every week with her.
I wouldn't look at a guy with any romantic interest until we share the same faith. Before that, you're all like guy friends. I guess some people would think that that's a very regimented way of looking at relationships, but I grew up believing that, and I tried to stick to my guts believing that. But of course, like having said all this, it was really hard for me as we grew in our friendship and having all that common interest to sort of go like, oh, the box, maybe it's half checked now.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to know, because I'm sure there were moments where you were like...
Yeah, so this is where our friends were probably start giggling, because like they were like, no, come on, admit it, you were sort of like liking him. And I feel like, yeah, of course I was getting drawn towards him, especially after he started being open to my faith. But it was really like a tug of war within myself. I was like, no, yes, but no, but not until. So.
Alright, so you're dating and you're in Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
How did you end up in New York?
We dated for 2 years after he became a Christian, and then I thought, no, I don't think I can marry this guy. And then I kind of called it off. Then we spent some time apart. And then in that time apart, I decided that I would move to New York. And then, or rather consider moving to New York.
Mm-hmm.
And then we sort of got back to talking about stuff.
Just couldn't stay away from each other, huh?
Yeah. And then I said, oh, I'm moving to New York. If you'd like to reconsider our relationship, I guess you have to move. If not, I'm sorry, I'm going, because that's what I really need to do in my life right now.
Is it safe to say that's kind of like an ultimatum? You were like, I'm going to New York, so if you want me...
It was more like, I'm not sure if this second start to our relationship is really going to work out, but right now, the thing that I do want is to try to go to New York to work. So I'm prioritizing that over restarting an old relationship. So
okay.
If you think that this relationship is really worth reconsidering, then I'm afraid you're gonna move.
So, Gee, she tells you this.
Right.
What happens next?
I decided that I will give it a shot. I did not imagine that it will actually work out.
How long were you in New York before you popped the question?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
You popped the question.
Right.
She said yes.
Yep.
Clearly.
Yep.
And you've been married since.
Yeah. We just celebrated 2 years anniversary last week.
Yeah. No, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks back.
May 3rd.
Yeah.
And how long have you guys known each other?
Since that day when I thought geek, are you asking?
Yeah, like how many years is that?
I would say 10 years.
What? I didn't realize it was 10 years.
Yeah, see, this is why when you came to our wedding and you said you never cried as much at any wedding, I was like...
Yeah.
Wow. All right, so what do you think about the dating scene from what you hear from your single friends?
Well, at least from my perspective, and this is from a lot of obviously single friends. It's almost impossible to get married in New York. I mean, it's impossible to date someone first of all, or to get someone to go out on a date with you, and then to start the process.
What about you?
I mean, the only thing that I know is from my younger colleagues at work. I mean, a lot of them are just graduated from college, and they talked a little bit about Tinder, and they talked a bit about this other app called, I don't know what it sounded like a bumblebee or something. I'm like, what's that? What's Tinder? And
I think it's Bumble. Yeah, I think it's called
Bumble. Yeah.
I haven't used it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay.
You guys have known each other for 10 years, and it wasn't like this automatic, like, oh my gosh, you're the one, and we're together. Like, you guys have been through some ups and downs, but you're here today. And you're beautiful.
Thank you.
Like, what advice would you give to just anyone that's on this journey to trying to find the right one?
I think I would say really get to know yourself first of all, and by that I mean be ready to, and I mean of course that takes years, right? We're always changing and we don't really know ourselves very well sometimes. But know your own strengths and weaknesses, and know what you can bring to someone and what you can't.
For me, coming from being a non-Christian to converting and becoming a Christian, know God first. On hindsight, I wish I had known God first before I started to date.
Elaborate a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, before knowing God, my kind of relationship was a very destructive kind of relationship. It was a lot about satisfying my own need for love rather than, really actually loving another person.
It seems like it's like loving God, loving yourself, and knowing yourself.
Yeah.
I dig it. I dig it. All right, so what should I do?
I am in no position to say.
Do you have another 10 years? But
I'm like, that's really deep, but okay. We'll just end it there.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Here are a few thoughts I had after chatting with Daphne and Gee. Love takes time. It actually takes effort. And it's a choice. Even Teddy Roosevelt understood this. He once said, "Nothing in the world is worth having or worth doing unless it means effort, pain, difficulty." Daphne and Gee have known each other for 10 years. Do you know what that actually is? That is the equivalent of a 4th grader. So that is a long time, okay? And as you heard Daphne say, it wasn't love at first sight. Dating and eventually marrying a man that shared the same faith as her was a non-negotiable. She didn't compromise. And thankfully, that geek who started off as a music partner eventually became her life partner. What are some of your non-negotiables when it comes to dating? I'd love to hear them. Join the conversation on iStandTV, or you can also find me at ratedR_Rasheeda on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure you tune into our next episode. I have a very, very funny guest. And actually, let's just say Wednesdays aren't hump days for him. And in fact, no days are hump days. If that makes any sense to you, tune in. And if it doesn't make any sense to you, that's even more reason for you to tune in. All right, y'all. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.